There are men who live by principle in a world built on convenience, and the galaxy does not forgive them for it. Plo Koon was one of those men. A Jedi master who looked at clones, soldiers bred in factories and designed to die without question, and saw brothers. He was the one who said it out loud when no one else would. No clone is expendable. 4 words that should have been doctrine, 4 words that made him dangerous. Because the Jedi Order, for all its talk of compassion, had already made peace with the idea that some lives mattered less, and Plo Koon refused to accept that. So when Order 66 came, when his own men turned their guns on him mid-flight and sent him burning into the atmosphere of Cato Nemoidia, it wasn't just a death. It was an erasure. The Jedi who cared too much, removed by the very soldiers he fought to protect. This story matters because it exposes a truth we don't want to see. That loyalty, real loyalty, the kind that sees people as people and not tools, is a liability in systems built on efficiency. Plo Koon believed the clones were individuals. He gave them names when the Republic gave them numbers. He stood beside them when others saw them as replaceable. And the tragedy is not just that he died. It's that his death proved the Order right. In the end, the clones were weapons. And Plo Koon, the Jedi who treated them as family, was killed by that very family without hesitation, without resistance, without even a flicker of doubt. His compassion didn't save him, it made him vulnerable, and the galaxy moved on as if he had never existed. The myth of Plo Koon is simple. He was a wise Jedi, a skilled pilot, a member of the Council, respected, calm, reliable. He discovered Ahsoka Tano as a child and brought her to the temple, shaping one of the most important figures of the Clone Wars. He fought in battles, he led missions. He survived dangers that would have killed lesser Jedi. The official record remembers him as competent, noble, and tragically lost during the execution of the clones' programming. It remembers him the way history remembers most good men, with a footnote. But that version is a lie of omission, because it erases the one thing that defined him. Plo Koon didn't just serve the clones, he loved them. And in an order that had quietly decided love was a weakness, that made him an anomaly. The Jedi praised detachment. Plo Koon practiced attachment. He knew his men by name. He flew beside them. He refused to let them be treated as numbers on a manifest. And for that, he was alone. Beneath the myth is a man who saw what the Jedi Council refused to see. That the clone army was not a gift. It was a trap. Not in the strategic sense, though it was that too, but in the moral sense. The clones were human beings, grown fast and taught only war, given no choice in their existence and no future beyond dying for a republic that didn't even see them as citizens. The Jedi accepted this. They commanded these men, sent them into battle, watched them die by the thousands, and they did it without questioning the system, because questioning would have meant admitting complicity. Plo Koon questioned. He didn't do it loudly. He didn't write manifestos or call council meetings to debate clone rights. But he lived the question every day. When other Jedi saw soldiers, he saw Wolf, Sinker, Boost, Comet. Men with fears, with humor, with loyalty that went beyond programming. He treated them the way the Jedi were supposed to treat all living beings, with dignity. And the Order let him do it, because one Jedi's compassion didn't threaten the war machine. It just made him easier to ignore. The contradiction is this. Plo Koon believed that caring for the clones would make them better soldiers, stronger, more resilient. And he was right. The Wolfpack, his battalion, was one of the most effective units in the Grand Army. They trusted him. He trusted them. That trust created cohesion. But trust is a door that swings both ways. And when the biological switch was flipped, when the chip in every clone's brain turned them into executioners, that trust became his death sentence. The men he had flown with, fought beside, saved and been saved by, shot him out of the sky without a word. There was no hesitation, no conflict, just obedience. Plo Koon died in fire and smoke, his ship spiraling into the ground, and the clones who killed him felt nothing. Because in that moment, they weren't men. They were what the Republic had always designed them to be. Weapons. And Plo Koon, the Jedi who had spent years insisting they were more than that, learned in his last seconds that the galaxy had already decided otherwise. The emotional cost is not just in his death, it's in what came after, or rather, what didn't. The Jedi Order fell, the Republic became the Empire, the clones were decommissioned, discarded, left to age into obscurity, and Plo Koon was forgotten. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but forgotten nonetheless. The survivors of Order 66, the few Jedi who lived, carried the weight of the purge. They mourned the temple, the younglings, the masters, the dream of what the Jedi had been. But Plo Koon's name rarely came up. He wasn't a martyr like Mace Windu. He wasn't a tragic symbol like Obi-Wan's lost brother. He was just another casualty in a long list of casualties, and the clones who killed him never woke up. The chips were removed eventually for some. They learned what they had done. But there is no record of the Wolf Pack ever confronting what happened on Cato Nemoidia. No record of Wolf, the commander who survived the war, ever speaking about the Jedi he had served. The bond Plo Koon built, the loyalty he earned, it died with him. And the clones moved on because they had no choice. Memory is a privilege, and they were built to forget. The Jedi Code taught non-attachment. It taught that love, personal love, the kind that binds you to specific people, was a path to suffering. And in Plo Koon's case, the code was proven right in the cruelest possible way. He loved his men. He saw them as individuals. He refused to let them be expendable. And that love didn't save him. It didn't even slow them down. The programming overrode everything. The relationship, the respect, the years of shared combat, none of it mattered. And so the Jedi Order, in its final failure, got to be right about one thing. Attachment leads to pain. But the code missed the other half of the truth. Detachment leads to nothing. The Jedi who stayed distant from the clones died just as easily. The Jedi who treated them as tools were still executed. The difference is that Plo Koon died believing in something, and the others died believing in a system that had already abandoned them. There is a scene that haunts the margins of this story. It's not in the films. It's not even confirmed in canon. But those who knew Plo Koon, those who flew with him, they tell it quietly. The moments before the crash, the way his fighter spun, the way he didn't eject. Some say the ship was too damaged. Others say he realized what was happening and chose not to drag it out. That he felt the betrayal through the Force, not as malice, but as absence. The absence of his men's will. The realization that they were gone, hollowed out, replaced by something cold and absolute. And in that moment, Plo Koon understood what the Jedi had refused to see. That compassion, in a galaxy designed for cruelty, is not rewarded. It's punished. And he fell, not as a warrior, but as a teacher who had failed to protect the only students who mattered. The legacy of Plo Koon is not in monuments or legends. It's in the silence. The clones don't speak of him. The Jedi don't canonize him. The Empire doesn't even bother to vilify him. He is simply gone. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the tragedy isn't that he was killed. It's that he was right, and it didn't matter. He saw the clones as human, and the galaxy proved that humanity is optional. He believed love could coexist with duty, and the war proved that duty eats love alive. He thought the Jedi could be better, and the Order collapsed before it ever had the chance. Plo Koon was a good man in a story that had no use for good men. And so the galaxy erased him, not with malice, but with indifference, which is so much worse. We celebrate the heroes who fought to the end. We build myths around those who resisted, who survived, who became legends. But we don't talk about the ones who loved in a system that punished love, who cared in a galaxy that monetized cruelty, who died not because they were weak, but because they were kind. Plo Koon was one of those, a Jedi who believed clones were not expendable, and the universe answered by making him expendable instead. His death was not a battle, it was a message. That compassion is a luxury, that loyalty flows one way, that in the end the only thing the galaxy remembers is power. And Plo Koon had none, just principle, just love, just the quiet belief that people mattered. And for that, he burned alone, forgotten before he even hit the ground.